The not having closure part was really devastating. But on top of that, um, he took my Winton. Took my Winton from me. He turned my son against me.
That's Steve Harvey's ex-wife, Mary Lee, revealing how Steve and Marjorie essentially stole her son Winton and turned him against her. Allegedly, Marjorie masterminded the whole thing because she wanted Mary to suffer, while simultaneously plotting how to get rich off Steve. As a mother, Mary has never recovered from this wound. And regarding Winton, rumors suggest that despite his outward composure, he's still deeply bitter and holds Marjorie responsible for everything. The streets are buzzing with talk that something's brewing in the Harvey household, prompting Winton to speak out not only about how they mistreated his mother, but also allegedly exposing all the family's hidden lies and secrets. Steve probably never anticipated this coming back to haunt him, but here we are. Not many realize this, but Steve had a severely damaged relationship with his son Winton during his younger years. It all started with how Steve treated Winton's mom, Mary, and for some context, Steve encountered Mary at a Texas mall back in 1989. She was working as a makeup artist at the time. They fell for each other quickly, and by 1996, Mary and Steve were married, staying together for almost 10 years. That lasted until Marjorie entered the picture and basically took Steve away from Mary.
When I think about how quickly he moved forward from me to Marjorie, that was disturbing.
When it comes to Marjorie, Mary herself claimed that Marjorie was Steve's mistress during their marriage, and she deliberately made sure Mary knew she existed. Marjorie once dialed their private, unlisted home number, pretending to inquire about a job application at Steve's suit company, fully aware Mary would answer the phone. Mary also shared that after divorcing Steve, she was completely cut off from the lifestyle she enjoyed while married to him, and even the fashion designers who once begged her to wear their creations stopped returning her calls. The heartbreaking part is Steve didn't truly value Mary and only stayed with her because she supported him through everything. During their time together, Steve was still a struggling comedian and completely broke, but Mary stood by him through the roughest patches, and it was actually her suggestion that he open his first comedy club. He couldn't afford it because he was financially devastated, so Mary handed over her entire life savings of $250,000 to open the club, and she also managed the design and interior work, so she genuinely gave it her everything. Yet once the money started flowing in, Steve became shady, disrespectful, neglectful, unfaithful, and every other negative trait imaginable. He left Mary with nothing and took away her son. Essentially, Steve and Marjorie stripped her of everything. She was evicted from her home, and then he turned her son Winton against her. Man, after all her sacrifices, that must have been devastatingly painful. Incidentally, this mirrors what happened to Steve's first wife, Marcia, and according to what's been said, Marjorie is the one who destroyed Steve's relationship with Marcia's kids, specifically the twins who are consistently absent from family gatherings, and his first son, Broderick.
I didn't really have my dad full-time into my life until I was 16, right? They were moving to Atlanta and they said, hey, Broderick, we want you to move with us because we really want to bring this family together. Now, in my mind, I've been living in Cleveland my whole life. I've been living with my mom. It's been me and my mom.
It's not hard to believe that Steve and Marjorie kept Mary separated from everything, including her son. Marjorie's ex Jimmy made identical claims about his own kids. Here's something many people might not realize. Marjorie was under federal investigation in the 90s, while married to drug kingpin Lord Jim L. Townsend, who was indicted for attempting to purchase 40 kilos of cocaine. He later received a life sentence in prison, but served only 26 years after receiving a pardon from then-President Barack Obama. During that time, the FBI also targeted Marjorie, because they suspected she participated in the criminal operation, and authorities informed Jim that his wife would face arrest since agents believed they had solid evidence of her own illegal conduct. Apparently, Jimmy negotiated a deal with authorities to keep Marjorie out of it. He accepted the blame because Marjorie was 8 months pregnant with Jason, and he also stated he feared their 5-year-old daughter Morgan would lose her mother if he didn't accept a plea agreement. However, Jim later revealed that he discovered Marjorie was a deceitful snake, and in 2019, he announced he was writing a tell-all book exposing all the criminal activities that occurred during his and Marjorie's time together. He also mentioned during an interview that he had concerns about sharing his explosive story because of his children, but he chose to proceed with the project regardless of Marjorie's feelings, stating he has no loyalty to Marjorie because she revealed her true nature, so he's telling his story. It doesn't matter if she knows about it. He's pouring his heart out. Nobody knows what happened except him and Marjorie. He even published a book titled Snakes in the Garden, The Untold Story of the Life of Jim, also known as Jimmy L. Townsend, with the snake being obviously Marjorie. Jim also conducted more interviews and provided additional details about how Marjorie betrayed him. For example, he said that he and Marjorie stayed friendly and kept in touch while he was imprisoned, including her bringing their kids to visit him. But according to him, all communication stopped abruptly 2 days after she married Steve Harvey, at which point Marjorie changed her phone number.
You know how life is.
Right.
You know how life is. I'm just gonna put the truth out there.
Right.
And I'm putting the truth out there, I should say. And just let people be the judge.
Just to illustrate how dangerous this woman can be, Marjorie also had a relationship with another kingpin, Donald Woods, who fathered her youngest daughter, Lori. Unfortunately for Mary, because of Steve Harvey's considerable influence, they sued her and won the defamation case in 2013. As punishment for defamation, she served 30 days in jail. Additionally, a gag order was imposed, and she had zero contact with her son Winton. Let's just acknowledge she's not someone who gives up easily. Years later, Mary reappeared in public when she accused Steve Harvey of endangerment, torture, deprivation, and brainwashing. She disclosed that throughout their very public divorce in 2005, she became depressed and had suicidal thoughts. Beyond her mental health struggles, Mary once again accused Steve of deliberately destroying her relationship with her son Winton Harvey and causing substantial losses in her business endeavors. She demanded $60 million in compensation for the alleged suffering she endured. She also wanted Steve imprisoned. Honestly, as a son, you can't convince me that Winton didn't witness his mother suffering, and she continues to suffer because of Steve and Marjorie. Who knows? Maybe she finally persuaded her son to stand up for her, and maybe that's why he's allegedly coming forward now. Well, guess what? He's also been discussing how Marjorie doesn't genuinely love Steve and how she got Steve exactly where she wanted him, including how throughout their entire marriage, she's been making Steve work tirelessly to support her extremely expensive lifestyle. By the way, for those unaware, Marjorie and Steve had actually met much earlier when he was still with his first wife Marcia. But at that time, she couldn't accept him because he was still broke. Steve first encountered Marjorie at a Memphis comedy club in 1987, and coincidentally, or perhaps she orchestrated it, Marjorie arrived late while he was performing his set and walked all the way to the front to take her seat. Remember, in 1987, Steve was still married to his first wife Marcia, but there had already been rumors that he was possibly unfaithful to her. Marjorie understood that because Steve was already cheating, he would be an easy target, and when he eventually became wealthy, she was conveniently right there.
Late, came down front with my girlfriend. Our seats were right here at the front, right by the stage. So we were sitting here. The stage was here. So he's just quiet. He just keeps staring at me. So I'm waiting on him to make me a part of the show so we can get on with the show. So he stayed quiet so long, staring at me. Now everybody in the club is looking at me. And so he finally realized, okay, I got to say something. He was like, oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know who this woman is, but I'm gonna marry her. Naturally, as Winton matured, he likely realized that this is precisely where Marjorie wanted his father, and she orchestrated everything from the start. And to make things even worse, she's also involved him in some very dangerous schemes in Hollywood. You all know that Steve and Marjorie have been accused of some of the most horrific offenses in Hollywood. First of all, there's the reality that Steve and Marjorie were comfortable with Lori's relationship with Diddy, despite their age gap and Diddy's track record. Diddy even brought Steve and Marjorie on vacation with Lori, and they were all affectionate right in front of them. Based on what's been reported, allegedly, Steve and Marjorie were fine with the arrangement because they were also profiting from whatever operation Diddy was conducting. In fact, there have been claims that Lori participated in the freak-offs when she was with Diddy, like she literally had white nail polish.
But then again, that goes back to the conversation of Lori Harvey, Steve Harvey's daughter. It was all known that she was spotted in them streets with Justin, and then she was spotted in them streets with Diddy, and they all tried to sit there and pretend like that wasn't what it was. Like, I don't know if anybody has not noticed, but ever since Diddy got pinched, they've all been trying to pretend like all of the stuff that we've seen that happened, that they was all involved in, didn't happen. If Lori Harvey was hanging out, and it's kind of weird, like the whole relationship with Justin looks weird. He looks like Mini-Me with Dr. Evil. It's weird. Like, why are there people? Why is there sexual behavior going on? And why are people naked in front of their kids, G? doing all kinds of stuff.
So the theory is that the Harvey family's current wealth and power are linked to previous criminal operations, and I don't know what they've done to Winton or what's happening in that household, but word on the street is that he's prepared to reveal everything. Again, maybe his mother has been influencing him, I'm not sure, but I can guarantee that if he exposes the truth, there's going to be a lot of shady business that emerges. Not that it would be shocking because we've already heard so much at this point, but let me know whether you think there's trouble in the Harvey household and why Winton would be revealing the secrets now in the comment section below.